Suppose if you are going to measure your height, so you have to put measuring tape at one end, and that could be act as a reference point. So when we are going to define movement, quality of movement, nature of movement, excursion of movement, we should have a reference point. So until unless we don't have any knowledge about axis and plane along which movement takes place, around which movement takes place, either movement is going towards axis or towards plane, either movement is going away from the axis, whatever things, we should have a complete knowledge of axis and plane. First, we should know anatomical terminology. First is, and most important is, anatomical position. When you are going to differentiate between normal and abnormal, first you should know what is normal. So until unless we don't know what is normal, we cannot say it is abnormal. So anatomical position is a position which we can say this is a normal position of an individual. Anatomical position is a specific body position in which an individual stand upright with feet parallel and flat on the floor. Should stand upright, your hand should be parallel, your foot side the body, tongue, your feet should be parallel. This is your anatomical position. Your head face forward, eye should be straight, not like this, not like that. The head is leveled and the eyes look forward toward the observer. When you are talking to someone, should have eye to eye contact. If you are seeing up or down, it is not your, it means your anatomical position is going away from your normal alignment. The arms are either side of the body with the palms facing forward and the thumbs pointing away from the body. And we all know we can perform anything, any movement, any work effectively when we are doing that work with the normal alignment and structure. When there is any abnormality in that alignment and structure, the movement, the quality of movement, the excursion of movement can be deteriorated. So it is very important to know for us, we should have a complete comprehension of axis and plane. First, we will discuss some terminologies which is used to define the body position in a space. First is anterior, towards or on front of the body, in front of. Anterior mean front. Anterior mean front. Something which is ahead is known as anterior. Something back is known as posterior. When we are talking about body, the front position is known as anterior part and back is known as posterior part. Suppose if you are putting 2 finger here, this is anterior finger and this is posterior finger. When you are putting 3 finger, the middle will be anterior to last one and last will be posterior to middle one. So it is the reference of position. Something which is superior at one time or anterior at one time can be posterior with reference to other things. Suppose posterior towards or on the back of the body, behind. Anterior means front, posterior means behind. The rhomboids are on the posterior aspect of it. These are the rhomboids muscle, they are on the posterior aspect. These are the pectorals, they are anterior. So how they are going to help? When we are going to study about the muscle, and literature is saying that pectorals are originated from the anterior aspect of the sternum. It means we are able to, by getting literature, we are able to locate that origin from our body. It is anterior sternum. Same as in the case of posterior, where rhomboids are. We are giving example. Superior mean towards the head or upper part of a structure, above. Head is the central of whole body. It is the master of body. So we counted it as a reference point, and we measure anything with the reference of head. Superior mean the humerus is superior to radius. See, this is the radius. Humerus is closer to head in comparison to radius. Same as radius is superior to your phalanges. So radius will be superior to phalanges, humerus will be superior to radius, shoulder joint is superior to humerus, and neck joint is superior to. So we will measure these things with reference to head. Which is closer to head will be superior, which is away from the head is inferior. Next is inferior, towards the lower part of the structure, below. The tibia is inferior to femur. This is the femur and tibia. Tibia is below the femur, that's why it is termed as inferior. Medial, towards or at the midline of body inner circle. Which one is toward the center of gravity? Center of gravity is somewhere here, near the S2, which is going towards the midline. Suppose, which is going towards the midline is medial, and away from midline is lateral. The adductors are on the medial two abductors. This is the adduction. You are trying to add your food toward the mid side. This is adduction. And when you are trying to go away from the midline is abduction. This is medial movement and this is lateral movement. Lateral, away from the midline of body, outer side, the abductors are on the lateral aspect of the leg. Medial aspect mean which is towards your body, mid side of the body. Lateral aspect mean away from the mid side. Proximal and distal, there are two other important words. Closer to the origin of point of reference. I have told you I have always counted head as a reference point, and which one is closer to your head or origin will be proximal in comparison to other which is farther from the origin or your reference head. Distal is the further form of origin or point of reference. The foot is distal to knee. You can see foot is distal to knee. Now we will discuss about planes and axis. What is plane? Plane is a surface in which movement takes place. Plane is a perpendicular surface that divides the body into two equal halves. Suppose you can see that box. This is plane. This is a plane, frontal plane. This is the sagittal plane. This is three-dimensional structure. This podium is a three-dimensional structure. This is the frontal plane. This is the sagittal plane, and this one is the horizontal transverse plane. Transverse plane. Human movements are described in three dimensions based on a series of plane and axis. There are three planes of motion that pass through the human body. There are three planes of motion. We can move our hand in this plane, and in this plane. So because human body is three-dimensional structure, so we have three-dimensional movement at different joint. We can move our body part in three direction. So it is important for us. We can be able to differentiate which movement is taking place in which plane and axis. There are three important planes of sagittal plane. I have already discussed. Sidewise, sagittal plane. How can we classify these planes? We have different suture in. I have told you head. We counted head as a reference point, and skull has some sutures. We will discuss in joint. This is a sagittal suture. This is a sagittal suture. There is some stitching in the skull bone, and the stitching of this half by a suture is known as sagittal suture. Same as here, frontal suture. And third is transverse. Transverse mean this type of. Now we will discuss about the sagittal plane. The sagittal plane lies vertically and divides the body into right and left part. Sagittal plane. I have told you this is your sagittal plane. If you are trying to divide one portion in two sagittal plane, you have to separate. We have divided from here. We are going through a sagittal plane. We are cutting this podium through a sagittal plane to divide this podium into two left and right half. So sagittal plane can divide any structure into left and right half, medial and lateral. You can say anything. Next is the frontal plane. The frontal plane also lies vertically, however divide the body into vertical mean longitudinal axis. Vertical mean longitudinal axis. Both, either you are trying to cut this podium in sagittal plane or in frontal plane, should apply a razor in vertical line. You have to apply a vertical line. In sagittal plane, you are trying to divide the podium in left and right half, but in frontal plane, you are trying to divide the podium into anterior and posterior half. So we can correlate this plane with the different anatomical terms. Sagittal plane is a plane which can divide your body into left and right half, whereas frontal plane can divide your body into frontal and front and back half. Third is transverse plane. The transverse plane lies horizontally and divides the body into superior and inferior part. This is the, if you are trying to cut from here, superior part and inferior part. Now come to axis. I have told you plane is in which movement takes place, and axis around which movement takes place. This is the difference. An axis is a straight line around which an object rotates. Axis is a point where angular motion takes place. Suppose if something is moving like this, so this is the axis along which, like Earth. Earth is moving over an axis. Movement at the joint take place in a plane about an axis. There are 3 axes of rotation. Like planes, there are 3 planes, same as there are 3 axes. And you all should know plexus, planes and axes are perpendicular to each other. Suppose if it is a frontal plane, so it will be the frontal axis. If it is saddle plane, it will be the frontal saddle axis. So plane and axis are perpendicular to each other, and there are 3 axes: saddle axis, frontal axis and vertical axis. If any movement is going there like this, it means this is your saddle axis and you are moving around a saddle axis. Same as if you are moving your hand like this, it means you are moving your body part or arm around a frontal. This is front, and front is acting an axis. Front is acting as an axis. So when you are going for flexion and extension of your arm is moving around an frontal axis. When your arm is going for abduction and adduction, your arm is moving around an frontal axis. This is sagittal. Your arm is moving around sagittal axis. Clear? Third is vertical axis. This is your vertical. When you divide this podium in equal half, 2 planes, this will be a sagittal vertical axis, and when you are moving anything around that will be termed as a sagittal axis. Rotations, shoulder rotation or all rotations occur around sagittal axis, vertical axis. The sagittal axis passes horizontally from posterior to anterior and is formed by the intersection of sagittal and transverse plane. The sagittal axis passes horizontally from posterior to anterior and is formed by the intersection of sagittal and, I have told you, this is the sagittal axis. This is the sagittal axis, and any movement which is taking place here, so it is formed by the intersection of frontal and sagittal. This is the sagittal plane, this is the frontal plane. And when you are doing any movement like here, this movement is because of intersection of frontal axis and sagittal. The frontal axis passes horizontally from left to right and is formed by the intersection of frontal and transverse plane. Frontal plane, frontal axis. This is your front. If you are doing any movement here, you are doing movement in sagittal plane but over frontal axis. See, I am doing this movement in frontal axis, frontal axis and sagittal plane. So there is an intersection of frontal plane and sagittal plane. It is formed by intersection of both planes. Third is vertical axis passes vertically from inferior to superior and is formed by the intersection of sagittal and frontal plane. This is your sagittal plane and this is your frontal plane. So all axes formed by the intersection of sagittal and frontal plane. Any movement is going up and down, superior and inferior, is occurring at vertical axis. Now we will try to explain all these axis and plane with some examples. Plane. First is sagittal plane. Motion is flexion and extension. When you feel this is your flexion and extension. Flexion and extension. It is parallel to. Plane is always parallel. Axis is always perpendicular. When you are going for flexion and extension, this is always parallel to sagittal axis. Whereas abduction and adduction are always parallel to frontal plane. And transverse, internal rotation, external rotation, horizontal flexion. This is your horizontal flexion and extension. This is your horizontal flexion and extension. This is your transverse plane, horizontal flexion extension or rotation. They are horizontal flexion and extension. They are the example of transverse motion. Axis are sagittal axis, sagittal plane and flexion and extension. Plane is sagittal, axis is flexion, extension is in sagittal plane and frontal axis. There's some mistake here. Sagittal plane, flexion and extension motion is in sagittal plane and frontal axis. Same as abduction and adduction is in frontal plane and sagittal axis. Frontal plane and, so it should be interchange. It should come here and we will correct it. And third is rotations. Rotations are in transverse plane and vertical axis. It should be in transverse plane and vertical axis. Example, walking, squatting, overhead press. Walking means when you are walking, squatting. So you are going for flexion and extension. Flexion and extension of. So your walking is in sagittal plane and frontal axis. Whereas stairs, jump, lateral arm raise. Lateral arm raise mean this is lateral arm raise, abduction. And same as throwing, you are going for rotation. When you are throwing something, so you are performing a movement against the transverse axis and in sagittal plane. Movement in sagittal plane about the frontal axis. Movement in sagittal plane about the frontal axis. See, first is extension and flexion. I am trying to describe these terminology with the help of example in body. First we will discuss about extension and flexion. Extension and flexion are the movement which are performed in sagittal plane and frontal axis. When you are moving this, so axis is front, axis is this and plane is this. Second is, you can see all the figures, extension, flexion, extension of neck, flexion of neck, shoulder, flexion of feet, extension of feet. Movement in the frontal plane about the sagittal axis. Movement in frontal plane about the sagittal axis. Abduction, adduction. This movement is parallel to frontal plane and perpendicular to sagittal axis. You can see abduction, adduction of arm, radial deviation. See, radial deviation, this, ulnar deviation and radial deviation. This is the plane. You are going toward the sagittal plane. This is sagittal plane. This is sagittal plane and frontal axis. Rotation is, you are moving the things over the, this is the frontal axis, there is a rotation takes place. So, radial deviation, ulnar deviation and radial deviation. The movement takes place in frontal plane and sagittal axis. Movement in transverse plane and horizontal or vertical axis. Rotations, all the rotations, any movement which is in sagittal plane, this movement is in sagittal plane but along the transverse axis. We have discussed about the basic principle of basic mechanics, how we can use these mechanics for description of movement, and how we can maintain the quality of movement, how we can train the motion with a specific knowledge of all these principles. But where movement takes place, okay, the main component involved in movement. Now we are going to study something about that structure which is personally taking part in movement. Those are the physiology principle, but now we are going to study something about the integrity, identity of that structure which is personally going to take part in performing some movement. We will discuss about types of bones and joint. Classification of bone. We can classify bone on different basis. Even anything can be classified on different basis according to shape. First, we are going to classify bone according to shape. Long bones and short bones. Flat bones, irregular bones, pneumatic bones, sesamoid bone, accessory bones, and heterotrophic bone. Now we will discuss one by one in detail. Long bones. Long bones are some of the longest bone in the body, such as the femur, humerus, tibia, but are also some of the smallest, including metacarpals, metatarsal, and phalanges. Long bones. Each long bone has the following structure: diaphysis, containing a medullary cavity and a nutrient foramen typically. Diaphysis is the, if you have familiar with the bone, there is two heads, one proximal head, one distal head, and the space or flat structure between two heads, two round shaped structure, is known as diaphysis, which connecting the two articulating head of bone is known as diaphysis. Second is epiphysis. Two expanded, smooth and articular end covered in hyaline cartilage to help protect the bone and aid in shock absorption. I have told you that bone has two heads, one proximal, one distal, and cylindrical structure is in between. The cylindrical structure is known as diaphysis, and two round shape or irregular shape heads are known as epiphysis. Epiphysis is covered with hyaline cartilage. Cartilage is a soft structure which is softer than bone. It has less density than bone. It has more collagen fiber, less amount of minerals, whereas bone has more amount of mineral and less amount of cartilage. If we will discuss about the ratio of all two things in bone, bone is made up of 2/3 of cortical bone. Your harder bone is made up of 2/3 of calcium phosphate and 1/3 of cartilage. That's why, because of presence of more amount of inorganic substances, bone is harder. Calcium is a hard material, so it is adding to bone get stiff, harder, stronger. But the end of bone, that is epiphysis, are always softened. They are made up of spongy bone. Bones are two types. One is cortical bone, other is spongy bone. So the part of bone which is going to make a joint. Joint is an area which is going to articulate with the other bone. That is the area is made up of a soft bone, soft, that is no spongy bone. Why it is spongy? Because whole the load is going to stress over that area. So if it is harder, there will be more wear and tear. If it is softer, there will be less damage. And God has augmented this epiphysis with some amount of articular cartilage. So by adding an articular cartilage over the bone, the shock absorbing capacity of bone is increased. For example, suppose if you jump over a floor or over the mattress, you will not get injured over the mattress, but you will have severe injury when you are jumping over a harder surfaces. Same as, what is the mechanism behind that? When you are jumping over a mattress, your weight is distributing in horizontal plane, not in, according to Newton's third law, when you are jumping over any structure, it will give you same response opposite. But if it is softer enough, it will not apply the force directly opposite. It can distribute the load in horizontal manner, so minimal amount of load will go vertically. So you will feel less amount of reaction. Whatever you are giving to the floor will give you equal. But if the floor is softer enough, So most of the load is distributed in horizontal plane, not in vertical plane. So you will have less response, less reaction force from the ground. Same as by making epiphysis soft enough from a spongy bone by adding articular cartilage, the purpose of making this epiphysis softer to give a joint to shock absorbing capability. Long bones. Long bone can be typically of three types. Typical long bones like femur, radius, humerus, etc. Femur is the longest bone of the body. First, you can see the structure of bone, the two round head, upside and down condyle. Condyles and the head of femur is known as made up of epiphysis. That is known as epiphysis. They are going to articulate with the other bone. They are going to sustain under large load. And the cylindrical structure, mid structure is known as diaphysis. And where epiphysis and diaphysis meet, they are known as, the area is known as metaphysis. All prominences are known as metaphysis. Long bones. Miniature long bones having only one epiphysis like metacarpals, metatarsals and phalanges. As we have seen in long bones like femur, humerus, tibia and fibula, they have two epiphyses at both ends. But some long bones which are shorter, they are looking long but they are short like phalanges, metacarpals, they have only one epiphysis. So you can see anatomy of hand, these all bones, metacarpal bone are long bones and they have only one metaphysis. Long bones, modified long bones having no medullary cavity like clavicle. Medullary cavity is the characteristic feature of long bone. And medullary cavity has a bone marrow, which is the great source of calcium, as well as it has homeopoietic function. Generation of RBC within your medullary cavity by your bone marrow. But long bones, either one long bone has two epiphyses, one long bone has only one epiphysis. Example is your metacarpal metatarsal, and there is other one long bone which is first bone which is horizontal in body. All bones in the body are vertical, but one bone in the body is horizontal, that is clavicle, and it is also long bone. All long bones has cavity inside which is filled with bone marrow, but your clavicle is a bone, it is long bone, it doesn't have any medullary cavity. It is a third type of long bone. Short bones. Second classification of bone is, we have discussed about long bone, now come to short bones. They are approximately as wide as they are long and have a primary function of providing support and stability with little movement. The main function of long bone is bearing load. The main function of long bone is bearing load and provide leverage to your body and movement. But short bones are mainly for stability and structure. They can form structure, they can give you a structure, your body shape. They consist of only a thin layer of compact hard bone with cancellous bone on the inside along with a relatively large amount of bone marrow. Short bone or flat bone, they are having thin layer of compact bone. I have told you before that bones are two types, cortical bone, spongy bone. Cortical bone are harder in nature, they have more amount of calcium phosphate, whereas softer bone or spongy bone, they have Harvesian canal, air bubbles. So these flat bone, they have less amount of cortical portion and more amount of spongy portion. The main function of these bones are giving you stability and giving you more support, bone shock absorption, as well as they are great source of bone marrow formation. Short bones. All the foot bones except metacarpal and tarsal phalanges like calcaneum, talus, navicular, cuneiform, all are short flat bone. Small bone of that is metacarpal. You can see all the bones. They are strong flat plates of bone with the main function of providing protection to the body's vital organ and being a base for muscular attachment. Flat bone as a scapula. You have seen a scapula as well as your pelvis bone. ilium, ischium and pubis, they are flat, but number of muscle are attached there. Scapula has given origin to number of muscle as well as insertion. All the shoulder muscle which are controlling your scapulothoracic motion is controlled by, or all the muscle are originated by your scapula. They are flat bones. Same as your gluteal muscle, your back muscle, all are inserted over the pelvis. They are giving strongest, the greatest muscle or largest muscle mass of the body is gluteus maximus, which is inserted over the pubic bone. Same as all rhomboids, serratus anterior, all the bones. Sternum is the example of flat bone. Your pectorals all originate from your flat bone. So flat bones, they are larger in size, they are broader, they are having broader areas, and because of broader areas, they can give origin and insertion of number of muscle, and muscle are the main dynamic stabilizer. When more muscle are there, so they indirectly these bones are playing more important role in the stability and function of your movement and posture. Anterior and posterior surface are formed of compact bone to provide strength for protection, with the center consisting of cancellous bone and varying amount of bone marrow. The main function of these flat bone are giving attachment to very important muscle, but along with giving attachment, when they are giving attachment, they are having full control over body by their muscle actions. Along with that action, they are producing some amount of bone marrows. These are the example of flat bone. Ribs. Ribs are example of flat bone. And whole rib cage is giving a protection to your most important vital organ. But imagine if you don't have a rib, what happen? If someone anger to you, put a finger and damage your heart. But because of your rib, nobody can approach your heart, nobody can approach your liver. So this rib cage is acting as a protecting barrier, boundary for your most important vital organs like heart, kidney, lung, liver, etc., etc. Now come to irregular bone. These are bones which do not fall into any other category due to their non-uniform shape. Like we have classified flat bone, short bone, long bone, but these are irregular bone. They primarily consist of cancellous bone with a thin outer layer of compact bone. Vertebral column, the most important bone of our body. The main function of vertebral column is giving protection to your spinal cord. What is spinal cord? Spinal cord is the extension of your brain. Brain is sitting here, but it is controlling whole body. Like boss is sitting in the office, but he has full supervision over all of his staff. So until unless you don't have any contact with them, he cannot control them. That's why brain is sending spinal cord to different areas by different sensory motor nerve and having full control, voluntary as well as involuntary control over the different body parts. But it is the vertebral column, vertebral bones which are giving protection to the spinal cord. Like other bones, why your vertebral column is not regular? Why it is irregular shape? Because spinal cord is a very important structure, and if it is not a spinal cord is not a solid, it is like a gel-like material, gray matter, white matter, not solid, not liquid, like jam, something like jam. So when anyone is trying to approach the spinal cord, any minor trauma can damage your spinal cord, and when you will damage your spinal cord, you can get paralyzed. Paralyzed means you will lose your full control over your muscle, and when you lose your full control over muscle, you cannot walk at all. And movement is a very important function of human body. I have discussed you earlier, because without movement, man is dead. What is health? Health is the physical, mental and social well-being. And when we are not socially active, we are not healthy. And how can we be socially active? When we are moving. When we are not moving, we will be dependent on others. So why God made this vertebral column, vertebral bone irregular? It has an anterior vertebral body. It has an anterior vertebral body, then posteriorly spinous process, along spinous process, then lateral side transverse process, lateral medial lateral to medial, facet joint. It means कि if anyone is trying to approach your spinal cord or damage your spinal cord, there should be a barrier from every area. Anteriorly, your body. Posteriorly, spinal process. Laterally, transverse process. Lateral medially, facet joint. So you cannot approach spinal cord from any direction. That's why God has made this vertebral column bone very irregular. This is the first function of your vertebral column, why it is irregular. Second, I have told you this bone is mainly made up of spongy bone. When you see the vertebral bone, you can see the diagram, body is looking like some porous structure. Whole body is made up of spongy bone, because in everyday life we are subjected to highest compressive loading. We all are some laborers. We all are bearing some weight, our body weight as well as some external load. If these bones are made up of cortical bone, what happened? Because of excessive stress, we all know what is the mechanism of failure. When you put any excessive load over any area, it can get fatigue and tear. So when this bone is made up of spongy bone, it has capability of shock absorption, and because of spongy in nature, they can distribute load not in vertical direction, they can distribute load in horizontal direction, and by distributing load in horizontal direction, they can prevent itself from getting damage. First thing. Second thing, if it is made up of cortical bone, what happens? When you produce fracture, because of fracture displacement, the bone can move from there, and because of movement, it can damage the spinal cord, and patient can get paralyzed. Because of, if that vertebral column is made up of cortical bone, when you had created any fracture, hard fragment can move from the area and can damage the spinal cord. You can see the spinal cord is just coming inside. This is the extension of the spinal cord. So when spinal cord damage, it could damage spinal cord. But when there is any, if you put any amount of excessive stress, if you put whatever load, or if you are in normal posture and you are putting any excessive load over your body, so some amount of load can be distributed in horizontal plane by your cancellous bone. There is some disc over that vertebral body. There is a disc which is filled with the air filled like gel-like material, which also has capability to distribute the axial load in horizontal direction. So by two mechanisms, God has given a full protection to our spinal cord by making this bone irregular. Now come to pneumatic bone. Irregular bone may contain large air spaces lined by epithelium, maxilla, sphenoid, etc. have the following function: make the skull light in weight, help in resonance of voice, act as air conditioning chambers for inspect. Some bones like orofacial bone as well as skull bone. If skull is heavy, if it is made up of very heavy bone, these bones has a number of air filled space, and the bone which have more amount of air filled space in there, they are known as pneumatic bone. So all vocal cord bone, because when we are speaking anything, we are trying, it is because of we are producing some frequency with the sound, and when our frequency of bone or muscle is matched with the air, we are trying to produce some voice, which is useless. Without voice, we cannot communicate to anyone. So God has made those bones which are taking part in creating some resonance with the air. They are made up of spongy bone, because air can resonance with air. Resonance, you know what? Matching. What is resonance? Matching. So when your bone air can match with the external air, there will be some vibration and sound generation. So it is made up of pneumatic bone. What is pneumatic bone? Which has more amount of air filled chambers in its histology. Same as God has created this skull. Skull is protecting your brain, your masterpiece of master system of your body. So pneumatic bones are very important because of more amount of air filled things, they are lighter in weight. So the whole your brain is covered with light bone, harder, strong, but they are having light weight. First thing. Second thing, the most important function of this pneumatic bone, act as air conditioning chamber for inspired air. Sometime we are driving in very chilly area and we are inhaling very cold air. Sometime we are sitting in front of fire, we are inhaling hotter air. Can you imagine if we inhale any temperature of air which is not matching our body temperature, it can damage our body. It can damage your body. So these, because of these bone, they are having airs. If they are feeling, our body senses are feeling, whatever air we are inhaling is not matching the normal temperature of our body which is required for our body. So they can, either if you are inhaling hotter air, these bone can bring that hot air into cooler which is suitable for your body, and sometimes when you are inhaling colder air, these bone are helping those bone to get hotter. So this is the most important function of pneumatic bone. They can condition your inhaling air according to your body need. Okay, this is the example of pneumatic bone. You can see number of air filled spaces which are helping in all these peculiarities. Next. Now come to sesamoid bone. They are short or irregular bone embedded in a tendon or joint capsule, have no periosteum and ossify after birth, related to articular or non-articular surface, and surface of contact are covered by articular cartilage and lubricated by bursa or synovial membrane. Patella. Patella is not a true bone. We are having patella. It is just between the femur and tibia and act as a pulley. It is giving us some mechanical advantage. What is the function of pulley? Pulley can change the direction of pull. So patella is not a true bone. It develops when child born. It means this bone develop after delivery. They are short or irregular bone. You can see patella is not a regular shape. Somewhere it is peak, somewhere has a throw, and irregular bone. Embedded in a tendon or joint capsule. You can see patella is located between tendon of quadriceps tendon and patellar tendon. Superiorly, here is the patellar tendon and here is a quads tendon, and patella is controlled by both tendons. Have no periosteum and ossify afterwards. Periosteum is the outermost layer of the bone, which bring bone smoothness, shining of the bone is because of periosteum. But patella, if you see patella, it doesn't have periosteum. Related to articular or non-articular surface, and surface of contact are covered by articular cartilage and lubricated by bursa. There are we have only two sesamoid bone in our body. First, you all know it is a patella. Second, we have very small sesamoid bone near the first MTP joint. First, it is near grade 2, first 2K, there is a sesamoid, two smaller round shape sesamoid bone. Both bones are working as a pulley. Patella is acting as a pulley for knee joint, whereas sesamoid bone of the first MTP joint act as a pulley for plantar fascia. Plantar fascia is a structure which is giving a shock absorption capacity to foot. You can see you have either whatever your body weight you have, 100 kg, 200 kg, but your feet is only maximum 6 to 8, 10 inch, maximum, or 12 inch, 15 inch. It is not bigger than that. So you can imagine smaller feet is bearing whole of your body weight. Normally the base should be broader. This is the basic principle of stability. The base should be broader and apex should be narrower for proper stability. But when we see the body, our apex is broader, whereas base is smaller. So how this small base is supporting a broader apex? Because of all these things, because of fascia, because of irregular shape of feet, because of number of flat bone. I have discussed you before, flat bones are basically for providing stability. So because foot has more amount of flat bone, one sesamoid bone, some fascias, and they all are acting together as a supporting structure, as a shock absorbing structure. So having a smaller foot, we are able to see the females. Their number is not more than 6. Their feet is not longer than 5 to 10 inch. But they are having weight of 200 kg, 100 kg. They are having broader pelvis, more fats. When you compare female from male, females are having more fat in comparison to male, whereas they are having smaller feet in comparison to male. It means they are bearing more weight with a smaller feet. So how can they bear without injury? They are not having any foot pain. Most of female who are obese, they don't have having any foot pain. They may have knee pain, back pain, but they are not having feet pain because of these structures, these peculiarities, which can augment them to sustain, to bear that large amount of load. Sesamoid bones function: resist pressure, minimize friction. As I told you, it acts as a pulley. The main function of pulley is decrease friction as well as change the direction of pull. Alter the direction of pull, I have discussed. Maintain local circulation, because they are covered with cartilage as well as fascia. So they are supplied by bone. Bone are a vascular structure. Bones are the vascular structure, whereas cartilage are the non-vascular structure. Bones are vascular, cartilage are non-vascular. But these bones are not true bones, but they are having circulation. When they will have circulation, the blood will go there. When blood will go there, all the structure adjacent to that bone, they will get nourishment. They are usually present in a tendon where it passes over a joint which serve to protect the tendon. They are augmenting, they are acting as an adjunct for tendon. Femur, patella, patella tendon, tibia. These are the, patella is the example of sesamoid bone. I have discussed you. This is a patella tendon, this is a quads tendon, and both tendons are augmented by a bone. So imagine if there will be a tendon, what happens? Because downside is bone, harder bone, and because of when you are moving your feet, legs like this, your patella is going up and down. Patella is going up and down, and because of, if there will be tendon only, because of repeated friction, tendon inflamed, and person will get tendonitis. That's why God has given us not a bone structure, not a tendon structure. There is something in between. It is not so harder, not so softer. So it is moving properly without having any damage. Accessory and hypertrophic bone. Accessory mean extra bone. We all know we have 206 bone in the body, but sometimes when person has disease, especially in athletes, long runners, they have developed some extra outgrowth of bone. You know what is the mechanism of growth? When you apply any stress, whenever a person has fracture, person think this is the weaker part, I should not use this part because it has fracture. But you should know that after fracture, after healing, the fractured area is more stronger than the previous one, because our body mechanism feel that this part was damaged because earlier it was weaker. So the next time when body heal it, it will be more hard or stiff structure. So that area is more stronger. Same as when we are overusing our tendon. Suppose when we are running, when we are doing any activity, it means you are contracting and relaxing your tendon. Every time your tendon is exerting a pressure over bone. Whenever you are doing any activity, your tendon is exerting a pressure over bone. Every time it is dragging bone toward its side. Suppose if you put any screw in the wall and tie it with a rope. Every day when you drag it, after some time it will come out along with some plaster. Same as when tendon is attached to bone and you are repeatedly using it without proper training, what happens? Because of repeated contraction, it will drag periosteum towards its side, and because of repetitive stress over periosteum, the periosteum will bulge out. And they will say it is calcaneal spur, bone बढ़ गई. You can feel. Persons come to you, I have pain here, and when you have X-ray, you will see there is some outgrowth of the bone. That is known as accessory bone. Accessory bone not always present as ununited epiphysis developed from extra center of ossification. Okay. Ununited, I have told you, bone has three things: epiphysis, metaphysis, diaphysis. And where epiphysis unite to metaphysis, there is one plate known as epiphyseal plate, and that plate is responsible for bone growth. And ununited epiphysis. Ununited mean when child born, his bones are not united. Suppose if he has a long bone, femur is looking like, if you have X-ray of a child, femur will be divided into three parts. One head up, then diaphysis separate, then again diaphysis separate. When you have a X-ray of a child, his bone are not ossified. That's why child have more flexibility. That's why children has more flexibility, because their bones are not ossified. And why they are not ossified? Their epiphysis and metaphysis are not united. It will take some time to unite. That's why when we are going for any sport training and we want to identify the age of any athlete, we should go for his X-ray. And by seeing his X-ray, we can tell him what is his age. Anyone can see the Pakistani player, whatever age they have, all are saying I am 16 years. But we cannot believe until unless we are not scientifically prove it. So how can we know how much is their age? If you talk about plant, if you cut the plant, you can know the age, because there are rings formed in the stem, and count the ring and calculate the age. But there is no ring formation in human. We have to rely either on parents or individual. But if we want to prove how much age, what is his real age, we should go for X-ray. And the bones ossify till the age of 25. All bones, complete ossification takes place till the age of 25. It means when we born, suppose one bone, different parts are epiphysis separate, diaphysis separate. But as a course of time, they unite. But any bone which cannot unite at its age, it is growing, and resulted in outgrowth. Is known as excessive or hypertrophied bone. Can be mistaken for fractures. I have told you, when you have X-ray of child, you have two arms. One bone epiphysis ossified with diaphysis. But here you have some problem, some injury, and your bone is growing. So you will have one long arm and one short arm because of extra growth of bone. Okay? Can be mistaken for fracture. I have told you, when child born, all parts are separate and ossified later. Because of some reason, if it is not ossified, it can be counted as, it can be shown on X-ray, it is fracture or separate. Heterotrophic bone. Heterotrophic means because of repeated stress, bone can grow. Or sometimes your tendon can be calcified and visible on X-ray as a bone. Tendon is a softer, bone is a harder. And X-ray shows only harder thing. When you have X-ray, it will not show the muscle. X-ray will show only bones. But sometimes because of repetitive use, repetitive tear, and I have told you, after every healing, the new structure will be harder than previous one. Suppose if you have a 5-10 time or 10 time injury in a tendon, every time it will be harder, it can represent a bone. Okay, it will look like a bone. So this is known as heterotrophic bone. If some of soft tissue like tendon can get calcified and visible on X-ray as a bone, X-ray will catch all those things which is harder in nature. And if your tendon become harder, it will show on X-ray as a bone. So this is known as heterotrophic bone, developed in soft tissues. Example, rider's bone in adductor muscle. We had discussed about the shape-based classification of bone. Now we will discuss developmental classification of bone. First, we are going to discuss how bones develop, and on the basis of their development, we are going to classify it. First is membranous bone. Second is cartilaginous bone. And third is membrocartilaginous bone. Membranous bone, you know something about embryology. Embryology is we all develop from a very small zygote, one ova and one sperm. It is the diameter of sperm is in angstrom. You cannot imagine. And now I am 6 feet old, 6 feet long. So it means we are developing from a very minute particle up to this level. Same as bone. What you are seeing as a long bone, it is not long as before. It develops from something. So some bone which develops from membrane is known as membranous bone. Some bone which develop from cartilage. Cartilage is a dense connective tissue. Cartilage is a tissue which has a collagen fibers. Some bones can develop from collagen fiber. So this is the embryological classification of bone. They have classified bone on the basis of their development. The bones which developed by membrane are known as membranous bone. The bone which developed by cartilage are cartilaginous bone, and the bone which developed in whole procedure from embryo to whole full adult man. Second is somatic bone and visceral bone. Next. First is membranous bone. Ossifying membrane, intramembranous ossification. Ossification mean, what is ossification? I have told you bone is made up of 2/3 of calcium phosphate and 1/3 of cartilage or membrane. Like you are going to build a roof. First you will put some iron bars, then you will put concrete over there. So iron bar can act as a support base or mesh over which you are putting concrete. Same as membrane form a base. Membrane form a base, and when calcium phosphate is get deposited over there, it become harder bone. So any bone which base is made up of membrane and developed as a bone is membranous bone, derived from mesenchymal consideration. We will not go in detail about the embryology of bone because it is not topic of your interest, but there are some tissue cholenchyma who are from science background. They know about the different types of daughter cell or mother cell from where we develop. Cholenchyma, parenchyma, they are responsible for generating different type of tissues. So we will not discuss this in detail, but you should know only that membranes, we can classify bone on the basis of their origination. They are derived membranous, cartilaginous and membranocartilaginous. Example, facial bone, bones of bald or skull. Skull bones are mainly developed by membrane. You are seeing just a membrane and bone, that's why it is flat bone. This bone is developed from membrane. Base is membrane deposited by calcium phosphate. Now come to cartilaginous bone. It means base is cartilage and further deposited calcium phosphate. Ossify in cartilage, intracartilaginous or endochondral ossification derived from performed cartilaginous model. Example, bone of limbs, vertebral column and thoracic cage. The bone which are going to subjected under hard loading, hard stress, they are developed from cartilaginous bone. Clear? The bone which are undergoing less stress, they can develop from membrane. Like you can see two type of roof. One is concrete roof and other is brick roof. Brick roof is weaker. When you are planning for 1 or 2 floor, brick roof is enough. Or when you are planning for 10 floor, should have concrete beams. Same as here. The bone which will in future are going to subjected under high loading, they are developed from cartilaginous base. The bone which are not subjected to high loading are developed from membranous bone. Now come to membranocartilaginous bone. The bone which developed from both membrane as well as cartilage base. Clavicle, ossifying partly in membrane and partly in cartilage. Clavicle, mandible, occipital, temporal, sphenoid. These are the bone which develop from this. Somatic bone. Most of the bones are somatic. Visceral bone develop from pharyngeal arches. Example, hyoid bone, part of mandible and ear. Why they are calling somatic and visceral? So you know somatic, all physical part, all limb, your trunk, your lower limb, they are somatic, body. Somatic mean body, and visceral mean the structure which are made up of smooth muscle. Somatic mean the structure which is made up of skeletal muscle and bone. Visceral mean the structure which are made up of smooth muscle like heart. Forget about heart. Heart is made up of cardiac muscle. Your GI system, your kidney, your liver, your pancreas, your GI system, all are viscera. They are made up of smooth muscle. So the bones which are made up of, which are limb bones, like they are somatic muscle, somatic bones, and visceral bones are which are developed from smooth muscle. Which base is smooth? Now come to regional classification. We have classified bone on the basis of their shape. We had classified bone on the basis of their origin. Now we are going to classify bone on the basis of their location in the body. Their location in the body. First is axial skeleton, which form the axis of body. This classification is very important for a physical professional, physical trainer professional, because we are referring this type of classification. Other two classifications are important for doctors or any orthopedician, but this classification is very important for a physical trainer or physical therapist. Skull, vertebral column and thoracic cage, which form axis, which form an axial skeleton, which form a vertical side, vertical portion of your bone, which bone form the vertical frame of your body is known as axial skeleton. And next is appendicular skeleton. Bones of the limbs are known as appendicular skeleton. Now come to structural classification. Microscopic classification, compact bone and cancellous bone. We had discussed earlier, compact bone, they are harder in nature, they have more amount of calcium phosphate and less amount of cartilage. Whereas cancellous bone, they have less amount of calcium phosphate, spongy bone. Compact bone. In compact bone, the hervation system are packed tightly together to form what appears to be solid mass. These bones are their main purpose is transmission of load. They are transmitting the load. They are not absorbing the load. They will take it and forward it. So they are stronger enough. They are harder in nature. They take the load from upside and transfer to the downside. Best developed in cortex of long bones. Adaptation to bending and twisting force. Adaptation means they are not, when you are trying to bend it, it will not bend. Adaptation means they have resistance to bend and twist. If you will try to bend it or twist it, it will tear but not bend. This is the histological structure of bone. Cancellous bone, it is lighter and less dense than compact bone. It consists of plate and bars of bone. The trabeculae are organized. It means for us it is only important कि spongy bones, they are less compact hervation canal, they are loosely arranged, and because of loosely arranged structure, they are softer in nature, whereas cortical bone, they are densely arranged like solid and liquid. Why solid is solid? Because the molecules are closely together and the intermolecular forces between two molecules are very close. Whereas in liquid, molecules are farther apart and forces between two molecules are lesser. Same as here, the two hervation canals are densely arranged in cortical bone. That's why they are harder in nature. Whereas in spongy bone, they have proper space, and that's why they are losing bone. The trabeculae, they follow the lines of stress and can realign if the direction of stress change. Now come to cancellous bone. Cancellous bone, greater trochanter group. I have told you before, the structure which is going to form a joint is made up of a spongy bone, or the structure which is forming a diaphysis or shaft is made up of cancellous bone. Microscopic classification: lamellar bone, woven bone, fibrous bone, dentine and cement. Lamellar bone, regular parallel alignment of collagen into sheet, organized in concentric sheet with a much lower proportion of osteocytes to surrounding tissues, arranged in piles. In cancellous bone, these are the peculiarities. Fibrous bone, found in young fetal bone, common in reptiles and amphibians. Fibrous bone mean made up of fibers. They are made up of fibers. Dentine and cement, or teeth, is made up of dentine bone.